You are now tuned in to Poppy Chulo Radio, your web portal for the best in pop culture news and interviews. The following is a Poppy Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Poppy Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to Summer Camp Science Fiction / Double Feature, a celebration honoring the late night double feature picture show, a PoppyChuloRadio.com original series, Poppy Chulo Radio Pop Culture on Demand. I'm your host and camp owner, Jeffrey Aruz. During this special edition of Summer Camp, we are going to discuss every single film mentioned in the opening song of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Please welcome my co-hosts who've been caught in a celluloid jam. Ticket taker, Deidre.
Hi, everyone.
Soda slinger, Osiris.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so it's time to fire up the film projector so that we can discuss 1936's Flash Gordon. Here's the official synopsis of the film. Flash Gordon, Dale Arden, and Dr. Alexis Zarkov visit the planet Mongo to thwart the evil schemes of Emperor Ming the Merciless, who has set his planet on a collision course with Earth.
Boom, boom, boom.
That was beautiful. Before I ask the big question, so we are doing the special season science fiction double feature where we are honoring the opening song from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, as I mentioned during our intro. Let me actually quote the line in which Flash Gordon is referenced. The line is, "And Flash Gordon was there in silver underwear." So, yes. And let me also make a little note. In the year 1996, Flash Gordon was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So this is in the National Film Registry. So let me ask.
This movie?
Yes. Sometimes things are important for different reasons, Deidre. We'll talk about what you thought in a moment. Let's talk about this film, like the 1930s Flash Gordon. So let me give a little breakdown. Like Flash Gordon from the 1930s, the way that these were filmed, these were serials. Like these were film serials, not Cereals for the listeners, Serials. So these were broken down into parts, and this was, I believe, a 12-part serial, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to double check that, but I know this was a multiple part serial. No, actually, this was a 13-part serial that expressed this story, and this was condensed down into the film that we saw. So, are we familiar with Flash Gordon from the 1930s, or are we just familiar with Flash Gordon, period? Deidre?
I'm familiar with the Flash Gordon movie and maybe some comic books.
From the 80s, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Osiris?
I don't remember watching this movie, but I think I watched whatever Flash Gordon I did watch. It was colorized.
Okay, so that was probably the 1980s film.
Okay, that kind of tracks, considering I'm 27.
Allegedly.
So yes, I've definitely heard of Flash Gordon. As a kid growing up, this was Flash Gordon was kind of one of my favorite sci-fi stories, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Cool. I've heard of Flash Gordon as well. I've heard of the 1980s film, but I had not seen this from the 1930s. Actually, when I was planning, as I was prepping for this special season, honoring the song Science Fiction Double Feature and doing all of the films that were referenced in that song, initially I did have the 1980s Flash Gordon penciled in as, the Flash Gordon reference in the song. But when I started thinking about the song, I mean, clearly this song was written before the 80s, so it couldn't have been that film that was referenced. It had to have been something older. And, because of all the films that were referenced are from the 30s, 50s, and 60s, I had to pick the older one, right? Which I was like, oh, this might be interesting. And it was, so we're going to talk about it. I mean, we have to remember, listeners. I mean, if you've never seen this, if you're listening to this just because, you enjoy us, this is from the 1930s. This was 1936. So the technology was very different. The un-PC-ness of some of it was, very 1930s. And yeah, so it was an experience to watch, but props to them for making this in the 1930s, like doing sci-fi in the 1930s with the limited technology, or with the very primitive technology compared to the technology that we have today. I mean, props to them. So, you know what? Let's go into it. Let's talk about the technology. We have a very dildo-shaped spaceship. Y'all saw it too, right?
It's a spaceship in the 1930s.
Yes. Can I just say, when we first saw the spaceship, like when they crash land after parachuting, right, and they just see the spaceship there in the woods, I thought it was a toy. Like, I was like, oh, look at that. Somebody dropped like a little rocket toy on the ground. And then when they're like, oh no, that's the spaceship we're going to be taking to escape, I was like, oh, that's not a toy. That's supposed to be human-sized. So that made me giggle. The phallic shape of the spaceship made me giggle as well. The iguanas that had to fight, that made me giggle. Then when we saw the lobster rooster dragon,
they did good with the special effects for
the lobster rooster dragon was everything.
The almost literal smoke and mirrors.
Yes. So let's talk about the technology. Let's talk about it. I mean, we have to. It's the 1930s, so it was a different time, but what did we think of all the technology and the effects, the practical effects that we got to see?
Godzilla. They all sucked. They were so bad.
But Deidre, but for the time, it was impressive, no?
Nope.
Oh no.
Oh my lord! Like that's what I thought was absolutely impressive.
And Deidre, this was expensive. This was an expensive production for the time.
No, especially the costumes. I'm like, they were lacking such imagination. Yeah, and oddly enough, I did continuously take a step back in my mind, take a step back, and go, Deidre, think about the time. And I was like, there is so much lack of imagination here, for something sci-fi. I'm thinking sci-fi. And when you're thinking, in my opinion, when you're thinking sci-fi and something out there out of the ordinary, you try to do things differently. You don't put gladiator costumes on aliens and say these are aliens. It just there's a lack.
Also the fact that they spoke English.
Yeah, and there was no change in the oxygen, on the other planet. No one needed oxygen mask or the big fishbowl helmets or whatever they used to call them, back then. None of that. It seemed there was a true lack of creativity and imagination.
I mean, they tried.
No, I
think the iguanas.
The teachers like they did not fucking try.
Teachers like they failed. Big ass F. F on all accounts. And I can definitely see your perspective, Deidre, because going into this movie and understanding it's science fiction, and there is no fiction to be had.
Right.
I can definitely I understand that level of lack of creativity. However, this is the 1930s, and this is groundbreaking. Like
this is high
tech.
tech.
All kinds of everything that they're doing is new. They don't know what a spaceship is supposed to look like, or how it's supposed to fly, or land, or that.
No, and you know what? You're very right at that point, because no one was doing the space exploration at that time, or anything. However, come on now, look. Flash gives up a polo game just to get on a plane to be with his father. He gave up a damn polo game. The Earth stopped because he gave up a polo game to get on the plane to be with his father, because there was something going on
because
with the
planet was about to crash.
Yes, and so he gave up a polo game, and they say it as if it is just. Can you imagine just the severity of giving up that polo game?
Polo was big in the 30s, Deidre.
Oh my God,
he was important.
Deidre said, "Oh my God."
Just
like the believability of this movie just shot out the window when this man refused.
Yeah, Deidre, she couldn't suspend the disbelief at the polo.
No.
That's why she couldn't even touch that dildo rocket.
No, ladies and gentlemen, look, we're on the plane, ladies and gentlemen. Atmospheric events are happening, so
a plane is about to crash into us. We have to parachute out, Deidre.
Yeah, look. We're having some atmospheric difficulties here, so if you want to parachute out, the parachutes are under your seat. No direction of how to use them, and everyone gets up like, "Let's go." I'm like, wait.
Deidre, in the 1930s, everybody knew how to use a parachute.
I'm like, where are we going already with this movie? Where are we going? How do I feel so lost in this moment? Oh, this movie was it made me laugh. I'm like, this is craziness. This is such craziness.
Oh yeah. I really and truly want to find some way of colorizing this movie. I feel like it was just because, like I said, I watched the one in the 80s, and it was just massively colorful and vibrant, and I feel like that is what this movie had. Like I feel like, if they wanted to, the iguanas were brightly colored. Like they put costumes on the iguanas. Somebody lent them iguanas for this filming and put little costumes on the iguanas. I thought that was absolutely cute. I really did. And for them to, make these iguanas, which are probably like 2 to 3 feet long, make them look like dinosaur-sized, creatures. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Dale tripping over a random rock and screaming when that one came up from behind. I was like, okay, this is old school. I respect it. They are paving the way for science fiction cinema. Thank you. It's horrible, but thank you.
Yes. I mean, nobody's saying this is masterpiece theater, right? But it is a production that clearly, it was, I don't know if I want to use this phrase, but it was kind of ahead of its time, right? I mean, it's dealing with technology that, maybe they didn't really use as often. It was very, it feels low budget, right? Like, I feel like anybody now with a modern day computer can, do some sort of like YouTube video or even a TikTok that is much more technologically advanced, right? But at the
No.
time, the technology was very primitive, right? And so, yes, we can make fun of it, and Deidre thinks it's horrible, which, I fully get, right? But there is something about it that's kind of like, oh my God, like this is sort of like the early stages of sci-fi. And like clearly things improved as the decades progress. I mean, we just saw a movie that was almost 2 decades later, right? It was about a decade and a half later. And the technology was much more improved in the day the Earth stood still. But it's interesting. I mean, it's very schlocky. It looks cheap, but clearly for the 1930s, it was expensive. Um, but it's interesting to look at. I thought, like, I had fun at the cheesiness of it because in our 2024 eyes, I mean, it is very cheesy, but I could just imagine, people in the 1930s, they were aghast. Like, they were eating this shit up like it's, the best thing
I mean, they
ever.
had 13 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
When was Bambi made? I only say
1942.
1942. I only say that because, yes, things did progress with time. Yes, it's very true. However, this could have been done as a cartoon and it would have come out far better than
Oh.
this movie. It's just,
No, you're right, but I think
but I'm not trying to say, in comparison to what we have today. I'm definitely not comparing it to today. What I'm saying is that it's very clear from my point of view that not a lot of effort was put into making this movie. It looked like everything came from a general studio set.
well,
No one
okay,
tried
Deidre,
to do anything.
Deidre, pause for just 1 second because I do have information about that. So let me say that and then I'll let you continue on. Yes, okay. So apparently this production, it's a serial, right? So there were 13 episodes. There are many actors in this, right? There are many extras and all that kind of stuff. It did have a large budget for the time, right? I do not have an information on what the budget was, but from what I've read, it did have a large budget. But, because it is a serial and it wasn't, a feature film, they did reuse many sets from other Universal films. So like the lab and the crypt were from 1935's Bride of Frankenstein. The castle interiors from 1936's Dracula's Daughter. The idol that we saw in the wedding sequence, that's from 1932's The Mummy. The opera house interiors are from 1925's The Phantom of the Opera. And the outer walls of Ming's castle were the cathedral walls from 1923's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So, Notre Dame, I should say.
That's pretty cool, though.
So they did reuse stuff. Yes, Deidre, you are factually accurate about that. And that was great that you could tell that they reuse stuff. But yes, they reuse stuff. Was it smart on Universal Pictures' part, because they didn't have to build the set so they could focus on, whatever you want to call it, the technology of making the ships and, making all that, making the floating city, village look real and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the money was put in somewhere, but yeah, they did reuse some stuff, Deidre. So you can continue on with your point.
That's not my point that they reuse the stuff. Listen, if they reuse things, and these are things that were not going to be used again, and they're like, hey, go ahead, use this, then make changes to those things, repurpose it completely to make it look like something other.
Oh, I actually found the budget for you, Deidre. $360K.
Okay, I'm done.
You think it was Hollywood?
It was a lot of money back then. So I'm seriously, my entire point to what I'm saying is that it just looks as if no one put forth any creative things at all in this movie to make it seem as if, hey, this is Flash Gordon. not, hey, this is Flash Gordon and we're just using all the stuff that they gave us here at the movie studios. You know, they didn't try to make it look different or seem different.
Well, I think I hear what you're saying. Like, I'm not trying to nitpick what you're saying because I do feel like, a lot of what you're saying is valid, but I think maybe you might be looking at it from clearly, we're in 2024, right? So you're thinking about it in a 2024 mindset versus,
No,
I mean,
and I
this was
said
almost
that's
100
I
years
said I'm
ago.
not. I
Okay.
clearly said that I'm not. What I'm saying is that if
You don't think for the year 1930s, like this is what they thought space could look like?
No, what I'm telling you is all because they give you a movie set piece or whatever from this one or that one doesn't mean that you have to take it as it is and use it as it is. You can make changes to it, especially if it's not going to be used again. Don't
Oh,
just
okay.
use it,
You feel like
for
they
what
didn't
it.
customize those pre-made sets as much to
An
make it look
extremely
space-ish.
wonderful example is where Ming was at when he was sitting on his throne and he had all those lavish drapes behind him, that were, you could tell that he came from something else and no one tried to make any changes to the drapes.
Okay,
No
I
one
feel you.
tried to, no one tried to change the color of it. No one tried to put, maybe glitter or something on it to make it seem as if it was,
Outer
otherworldly
space. Mm-hmm.
different. They just took the parts of the sets that they
Okay.
were given for repurposing and they did not repurpose them. They just put them there and said, "Okay, let's go."
Okay. I now completely understand your point, and I hear it, and I will agree with it. They didn't really customize the sets as much as they could have. They were more generic and that sort of thing. Okay, I hear you, Deidre.
Yeah, because especially with the set from The Mummy.
Mhm.
That one made no
I
damn
couldn't help but
sense.
like, is that Oasis?
I was like, I didn't understand that. I was like, are they worshiping an Egyptian god? Like, it was so weird. Like, it didn't, well, I guess it didn't really need to make any sense because they ended up destroying the idol, but
Yeah,
that
like,
was weird. That took me out of it because I was like, why, what is going on here? Because they
exactly.
also, I mean, they made the man, I mean, we have to be honest. I mean, they tried to make him look Asian.
Mhm.
Ming, the Merciless. And it was clearly, I mean, it was a white man playing Ming. I mean, so,
And there was no
it's the
reason for them to try to
1930s.
make them look Asian. If this was supposed to be somebody on another entire world and their name just happened to be Ming, then why would they have to be Asian if they're from another world? They just have the name
Yeah.
Ming.
No, you're right about that. But it's
Yes.
1930s, so it's not the way in the 1930s is the way they thought. But yeah.
Who thought? Because we know who wasn't part of any of the thought processes for this.
Well, clearly.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Yes. But okay, so since we're talking about the sets, and Deidre mentioned the costumes, there was, I will say, something interesting that they brought in, because there was what's his name? He's the leader of the Lion, not the Lion brand, but the Lion Men. We had the Lion Men in this. We had the Hawk Men with King Bolton. What did we think of, like, the different species of people that were on this planet?
It would have been cool if it was Lion Brand.
Yeah.
No.
Shout out to Lion Brand.
No, they all suck too.
Okay. You didn't like Thun?
They all sucked.
Oh, okay. All right.
They all, I tried very hard. And when you told me that they worked to preserve this, that just, I'm lowering my score, now because no, just no. There are no. I'm not seeing any effort put toward this. And you're telling me there's 13 of these?
Well, no, we saw the 13 installments condensed into a feature film. Outside of these 13 installments, there were, I believe, 2 other serials starring Flash Gordon. I think also starring Buster Crabbe as Flash Gordon. There were at least 2 other multi-part serials about Flash Gordon.
Because this seemed like a silent film that they decided we're going to put words to it. It just, you know.
I can definitely see that analogy, Deidre.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit over here in the corner. Okay.
Oh, all right. Okay, so we talked about the Hawkmen and the Lion Men. Okay, so well, we haven't talked about him. Let's talk about Flash Gordon, Buster Crabbe. Yeah, let's talk about him. What did we think of him as Flash Gordon? I will say I liked him. I liked his physicality. Like I like that. Like they had him brawling, which I was like, dude, you were just playing polo. Like, what are you doing? Just punching people out, grabbing swords. And,
he did nothing but choke people.
He was choking. He was choking people out, and then he was fighting those caveman-looking men with the teeth, and that they look strange.
Yeah.
There was that.
That's one of my notes. I was like, this man stayed choking people out. Like that's all he did was just choke people out.
He turned invisible and he was choking people out. He
choked out a tiger. Like he choked out everybody.
Yeah, that poor tiger. And then what else did he do? He he got into the claws of that lobster rooster dragon.
Yeah.
That creature.
Yes, Deidre. Was it scary, Deidre?
No.
Okay, no scarometer. Okay, good.
No.
Oh, when he choked out Ming when he was invisible, I was like, you know what? This is perfect. This is exactly what this movie needed. Thank you for.
Yep.
And like shout out to the actors for pretending to be choked by an invisible person. That was they put forth some work. Like that whole invisibility thing, like they put forth some work.
Osiris, stop it.
Deidre's not having fun with this movie. I love that at least you're having fun with it, Osiris. Deidre's like, I'm not having fun, and you're not going to make me have fun.
No, because look,
Deidre, we're not saying this is a masterpiece.
No, the bad guys for the ones that looked like they were wearing the suits for the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. No, Poppy, no.
Yeah. What did you think of our burly Volton?
Wait, who?
The king.
Volton. Yeah.
He was a burly man.
He was also one with wings, right? Yeah.
I thought he was a prince.
No, the king with the wings.
Baron. I think Baron is the prince.
Baron was was supposed to be the ruler of Mongo, but Ming was merciless about it.
Okay. I going back to the king, I thought he was pretty. He did nothing but laugh the whole time.
Yeah, he sucked.
I can't with Deidre.
No. He didn't suck. It's just you can only do what they give you. So
you can only do what they give you.
Yeah. But I think that's not the question you asked me. I think you asked me. Yeah, you asked me about what's his name, the winged guy, the king. Yeah. I mean,
he sucked too.
He'll do. He did. He'll do.
Oh, okay, like that'll do, pig. That'll do.
Yeah, but he also was tussling a lot too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, he was forcing them to power the atomic generator that was holding up his floating planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was a mess. I will say, I liked our heroes, though. Like, I liked Flash. I liked Prince Baron. I liked Dale, although poor Dale was getting hypnotized And I mean, they had this whole thing where she got hypnotized so that Ming could get her to marry him. But then his daughter, Princess Aura, ended up putting poison into Flash so that he could forget the past, so that he could be in love with her and her eyebrows.
Yeah, because she looked like somebody straight up from a silent movie. I was not digging her at all, nor was I digging Dale Sutton hair extensions. I'm like, bitch, what happened to your hair? Where you get all this hair from?
Well, things go differently on different planets, Deidre.
Well, you know what? You're right. I'm still trying to figure out how they got that damn oxygen, but still.
Ooh, before we get too far, I just want to talk about Baron. He was that thick.
Baron brought the thickness, yes.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what is this? What is this? What's your name?
We would probably call him Burly too.
I would call him thick.
Oh, that's that thick?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's that strawberry?
Just like the song.
Yes.
Oh.
That Deidre doesn't know.
Deidre never knows, but it's fine.
No, I don't know.
Deidre is, though, celebrating Brat Summer, and that's the most important thing.
And what am I celebrating?
Okay, moving on then. Oh, God.
It's not Renaissance.
No, it's not, yeah. Okay, all right. So, okay, let's see. What else? Okay, can we talk about Flash Gordon's little costume?
September. Yes. Yes.
Daddy shorts.
Why did they put that man in those
Gucci Daddy shorts?
No, you skipped over certain things. So here he was in these safari expedition pants.
Yes, safari expedition pants and the polo shirt.
Right. So here he was in those, and I'm just trying to figure out where the hell he was going, because the pants are what people wore to go do something, but I don't think to play polo. I think he had a costume change. How many times? Maybe 3 or 4?
About 6 or 7.
Oh, he was doing a Beyonce at the Renaissance.
Yeah, he had a lot of costume changes, and his hair was always finely coiffed. So all that was very interesting with him. Yes, just interesting.
All right. Yeah. So he got the Hoochie Daddy shorts, but they also gave the Hoochie Daddy shorts to the Doctor, Zarkov.
They were everybody had on Hoochie Daddy shorts.
Okay, Dr. Zarkov, we have not discussed him.
All right, Deidre, do you want to discuss Dr. Zarkov?
He was an idiot. Dr. Zarkov, right? The plane crashes. They get off the they parachute without a tear or bother or anything to any of their attire or selves. They land with perfection, right? And where they end up is where Dr. Zarkov is. And Dr. Zarkov is, like, bad things are happening. You must go, get off my island or whatever. And they're like, well, we can't. Bad things are happening. And he's like, well, yes, bad things are happening. You must go. I don't want you here. I'm leaving on my spaceship. Oh, you have a spaceship? Yes. We want to go with you. You cannot go with me. But my father is so-and-so and sis and blah, 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 blah. Okay, you can go. I'm like, see, this is all wrong and bad right here. All right here in this one little scene. This is just terrible.
I mean, that's what white privilege literally is.
I have such a feeling that if I went back and looked at the original comic strips, it would probably be so much better. But yeah, this was Dr. Zarkov was such, I don't want to call him a dunce, but they just made him seem as if he wasn't someone with a lot of information, or his information was limited, and you're just supposed to say, oh yeah, that's right.
He's a scientist.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. But where are we going? I'm a scientist. Okay, that's right. So we're going to be safe. Yeah. All right. It looks like we're crashing. Where are we at? We're crashing. No, I'm a scientist. Oh yeah, that's right. So we're going to be all right. Okay. Yeah. Just no.
I will say this condensed version of the serial, we did miss out on 2 major storylines. The first one is with King Kala, ruler of the Sharkmen, in which Flash has to fight the giant Octosac. in a chamber that's filling with water.
Okay.
Can I say? Oh, sorry. I'm mad we didn't see the Octosack.
Oh my god!
I am too.
We might have to find that part on YouTube. And then the
Yes.
other storyline we missed out is where Ming forces Flash to fight to the death against a vicious Orangopoid.
Orangopoid.
Which is basically like someone in an ape suit. So,
a hairy man.
yeah.
Or what do you call him? Furry. A furry. Okay.
Probably a gorilla suit with accoutrements to it to make it look spacey. Kind of like what they did with the iguanas. But yeah, I would love to see the Octosack.
Look, I'm.
Is that what they call you at the bathhouse? An Octosack?
I'm gonna find.
I seriously just changed my Twitter profile name.
What is it?
Osiris versus the Octosack?
Osiris and Big Back Keisha versus the Octosack.
Is Big Back Keisha the name of your back?
Oh dear.
Keisha is my drag name if I ever take a drag.
Big Back Keisha.
Oh, I don't think you'd be good.
I would be horrible at drag.
Okay,
If
well,
I
at least you
was
know.
not so sleepy, I think I would be screaming in laughter right now. Oh my God. Big Back Keisha. Oh, that's beautiful.
You should see the spelling.
My God.
So, Deidre.
Yes.
You did not like Princess Aura or her eyebrows.
No, Princess Aura, like she just stepped out of a silent film and was still doing the silent film work.
She was still being silent.
Chop.
She does have a storyline, right, where she has character development because she starts off like really being down for everything that her dad was about, right? And then at a certain point, she sort of falls, I don't want to say in love because she just met the man, but she certainly fell in lust with Flash Gordon. And she became jealous of Dale Arden, because Flash, for whatever reason, Flash met her on the plane, saved her life by parachuting together, and then all of a sudden she's volunteered to go on the spaceship with him. That looks like a giant dildo or vibrator. But he seems to get feelings for her, right? He's caught the feelings for Dale, and so the princess is jealous, and so she tries to do everything she can to convince Flash to be with her feminine wiles and with her evil, duplicitous ways. But by the end of it all, Deidre, she realizes that Flash isn't the one for her. It is Prince Baron. And so she ends up falling in love with Prince Baron, and the prince ends up falling for her too.
Yes.
Yes. It is very 1930s. They fall in love in 5 minutes in the 1930s, and then they're married by minute 7. But I know you didn't care for her, but did you find her, I don't want to call it a heel turn, but did you find her turn at the end from going from being villainous to being good, I guess, in air quotes? Did you find that interesting? And also, did you find how they got rid of Ming interesting as well? Because he's just sort of stepped into flames and died. And his high priest, who, seemed to be very much down for the cause with Ming, he was kind of like happy to like watch him incinerate.
Yeah. There's a consistency there when it comes to Ming's daughter and Baron and the relationship. There's a consistency through this movie and with the other movie too, which means it's probably the same thing in the comic strips when it comes to the fact that Baron had a liking for her. She had a liking for him, but in some way she seemed like a gold digger, or not a gold digger, but she was looking for certain things the way a gold digger would. But in the end, she let it be known that Baron was the man for her. So that's consistent for her character. In this movie, however, she sucked.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of go back to the romance between Flash and Dale. And this is what I've learned in psychology when it comes to attraction.
Oh, tell me, let me learn.
Basically, I'm gonna say the experiment as shortly as possible. Basically, they had men walk across a bridge. The first bridge was, fairly safe. Second one, and at the end, they had to talk about their experiences from walking the bridge to a woman who was a compatriot.
You lost me. You lost me so quick. You lost me real quick. I'm lost. Wait. No, go ahead, continue because I'm so lost. I'm like, wait, the damn bridge did what?
Yeah, like basically progressively, like as the experiment went, the bridge was more and more scarier to walk across. Like the first, like, basically imagine a rope bridge, and as they made it more scarier, they found that when the men would get off of the bridge and talk to the woman scientist at the end, collecting, whatever, asking whatever questions about the bridge, they would find that the men would rate the women. Like they would take a poll, take a survey, and as the bridge was scarier, they would rate the woman more attractive.
Oh.
And then so
isn't that interesting?
Like further experiments, they decided to have the woman compatriot walk across the bridge with them. And they found that, as the bridge was scarier or more difficult to cross, they found that the attractiveness level between the two people were much higher.
In the situation.
Yeah, because of the situation, yes.
Isn't that greatly interesting?
Which is the reason why Dale and Flash's situation kind of happens that way, because they met on the plane. The plane was already going through some scary stuff. She falls on him, he falls on her, and from there they're kind of pushed together and they're facing these odds together. So like that's where their attractiveness comes from. I thought that was pretty cool to watch that.
I thought that was pretty cool too. I think Poppy's still taking notes, so we'll give him a few more seconds.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I guess, if you're in a dangerous situation, you might fall in love quicker.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be dangerous.
But how does that explain the princess?
Oh, she was jealous.
Oh, okay. Fresh meat also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because in essence, she could taste the rainbow and do the whole thing that Deidre talks about having multiple husbands. Because, I mean, she could get married. She could get married to Baron. She could get married to the Lion Man. She could get married to the Volton guy.
Set a schedule. Yes, she could.
We didn't see the Shark Men, but she could marry a Shark Man.
Yes. She could definitely set a schedule. Yes. All would work out wonderfully.
Yes. Yeah.
I see it. Yes.
Yes. But by the end of the movie, the Earth is saved. Weirdly enough, the Earth was saved like about a third of the way through the movie, because Ming had like changed the course, because he was like, I control the planet and I want to collide with the Earth. But then he changed the course from it. But then he thought about conquering it. But then he really wanted to kill Flash Gordon and all that kind of stuff. By the end of it all, he gets incinerated, and there's new There's new royalty on the planet. And so Flash Gordon returns safely with Zarkov and with his Boothang Dale.
The end.
The end, yes. Was there anything that I missed, a tiny moment that anyone would like to chat about before we hand out some awards?
Did we already talk about the pair of shoes? Yes, we did. Okay.
Yes.
So I think I got up to get something to drink, and the camera flashed on one of the gauges in the spaceship. It had letters on it, and the first thing, because of how because of the letters that my brain registered that gauge as the butthole gauge, because some of the letters just popped out and was just like, oh, that says butthole. I was like, no, that doesn't say butthole. But I've definitely named it the butthole gauge.
The butthole gauge.
That's a lovely story. All right. Before we scream lights out, let's hand out some camp superlatives. Once again, we had not used it in a while, but it is appropriate in this movie. Scream Queen.
Dale.
Yes.
I'm writing down butthole gauge. Yes, Dale.
The Diva?
Ming.
Yeah.
Very much Ming.
The She Ain't No Diva?
His daughter.
Ooh.
She tried.
She did try. It didn't work.
The Ingenue?
I'm going to give it to Baron.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
The Kill of the Night.
Ming.
Okay,
That's
yes.
right.
The most actiony moment.
The tiger. No,
Oh, okay,
no.
good. Oh.
I take
The
it
plane
back.
crash.
Which one?
I would say the plane crash that we never saw yet. People escaped.
Oh, I was gonna say the Invisible Flash moment.
Oh, that's good too.
He was kicking everybody's ass.
The most non-politically correct moment, the Asianification of Ming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is for Deidre. I usually give this to Parker, but I feel like it's appropriate for Deidre. The Jennifer Lopez's enough moment.
Ooh, right when this movie started.
Okay, good. I'm going to do this award in two ways, best and worst. First up, the best usage of a cheesy special effect.
The plane flying, not the plane, the rocket ship.
The vibrator.
Flying.
Okay.
Or the lizards.
Because
Oh,
it was
okay,
going
good.
in the circle, but you weren't supposed to realize it was going in the circle.
Well, you know, Deidre, you're very perceptive. And the worst usage of a cheesy special effect.
Crab claw rock rooster.
Yes.
Dragon. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's gather around the campfire to toast some marshmallows. This should be fascinating. We're going to rate this film on a 1 to 10 marshmallow scale. I'm scared. But the beautiful Deidre, my Puerto Rican princess, you get to go first.
I give this film, Flash Gordon, 1936, 4 marshmallows. They are stale, they lack flavor, and they are just as hard as can be. This film did nothing for me other than present questions that cannot be answered. This was not for the best. So I give it 4 marshmallows. Stale, hard, dry.
Osiris?
I'm on the other end of the spectrum. This is going to be 7 iguana-shaped marshmallows. This was a fun movie. Like I said, I'm used to it. I've watched the colorized '80s version. This was fun to watch. I could definitely see this as the 1920s radio show kind of series. Yeah, beyond that, 7 marshmallows shaped like iguanas.
And I'm going to give it a 6 for basically the same reasons Osiris gave. I'm going to give it 6 phallic-shaped rockets. Cream-filled, Deidre. And yeah, I mean, it was entertaining. Like it was entertaining for what it was. Like it's a 1930s movie. The special effects are not the best, but they were good for the time. It was ridiculous. It was a little over the top. The plots were plotting. The costumes were costuming, and the effects were affecting. And it was all effective for me. Like, it was enjoyable for what it was. Like, is this masterpiece theater? No. But was it an enjoyable 2-hour romp through space on the planet Mongo with Flash Gordon? Yeah.
No.
Well, maybe not for Deidre.
That was not a question. That was rhetorical. Okay, go ahead.
That was rhetorical, yes. And on that note, it's time for everyone to report back to their cabins. Your bunk beds are waiting for you. Join us next time for a brand new installment of Summer Camp. Here's one of our campers on our PA system with a few announcements.
Thank you for the intro, and sorry for the microphone feedback. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Summer Camp. Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Poppy Chula Radio Summer Camp and subscribe. Back to you, camp counselors. Oh, not again. Sorry for the feedback.
Thank you. My fellow camp counselors, please wish our campers and the listeners a good night, starting off with Osiris.
Good night, everyone.
And Deidre.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. Good night and lights out.